I'm Jessica and thanks for joining me today. I wanted to take some time to show how I replace the boot heels on one of my pairs of boots. This is what a stacked heel normally looks like. This, unfortunately, and a lot of the shoes that are sold today just have a covering around it. I had a pair of my favorite boots where the stacked heel was messed up. If any part of your shoe or boot is coming off, say from the sole, you definitely want to use a glue like E6000. I went on Amazon and I was able to find some stacked leather that's really thin, and it cost me about $20, but this is with me having already used enough to replace a full boot.
I had this pair of boots fixed at a cobbler's about 2 years ago, and instead of replacing the leather, he just added an edge coating and protective coat on top to make it look more cohesive. But as you can see, over time, it's starting to wear and bubble up. So I decided I would take you guys along and show you how I replace these parts. So first, I used an X-Acto knife to try to cut this leather covering loose, and I cut along the edges first. My soles and heels on these boots were in great shape, so that's why I didn't need to replace those, but the leather was pretty brittle, so I did use some tweezers to try to help me pull up some of it. And you really want to try to get any of the extra pieces of glue and leather that are stuck to the bottom, because that will really stop your new leather strip from adhering well. And after that, I ended up using some acetone to try and get off any of the excess orange color, which is pretty much the old glue that they use to attach the leather pieces. And a paper towel and Q-tips works really well, and you just want to take as much off as you can and then let the sole dry, because the acetone definitely can eat away at the plastic heel that's there. You can use a plain piece of paper and try to use that to make a template. I actually found this method to be the easiest because it gives you the exact inside dimensions of what you want to cut your new leather piece to. And paying attention to the grain is a really good idea. I, for some reason, was not able to get the grain exactly how it used to be on the original pieces, so maybe someone has some insight on what I was doing wrong with lining up. But once you get the pattern piece really well fitted, then you can use it to cut the leather so that you are not making mistakes. Here I'm also showing how you could trace one of the pieces if you have enough of it left over still intact. You really want to make sure that the fit is good. It's almost better to have a little bit of gapping than to have any part of the leather overhanging on the bottom or the top of the sole, because it will push up over time. And on one of my other pairs of boots, I actually did have to trim off an extra little piece that over time had kind of pushed up. So here I'm just showing you how I finally got the fit really, really good. Do it obviously to both pairs of boots, and don't forget the small under piece. I used this barge cement. It's almost like a rubber cement in that you put some on both sides on the heel and then also on the leather pieces, and then let them dry. Then you adhere them, and this stuff sticks like crazy. So try to get it lined up properly, because if you have to kind of pull it off, it can pull off some of the glue with it, and then you have to let it dry for about 24 hours. I then clipped any of the extra leather pieces to really make sure that my corners were really good on the heel, and then let it dry. After that, I took 800 to 1000 grit sandpaper and just went over everything to make sure there was no catching that could happen. And I then proceeded to use edge coating on the leather. I prefer to have a darker look of the leather, and so this coating is similar to a paint, where I was afraid with a stain I wouldn't have as much control. I decided to not keep it as dark as the original heel was, but that is totally up to you. They have all different stains and colors of this stuff, so just pick out what you think would look best for your shoes themselves. After that, I let it dry, and then I did proceed to use that sandpaper again to just very lightly go over to give it a little bit more variation in color, but you definitely don't have to do that. Once that was done, I used some Resolene acrylic leather finish, and it's just a clear coat that you put on and you let it dry. I used 3 coats of this Resolene protective finish on my heels, and I know that this is enough of a coat to really protect them. This is what my previous pair looked like before I redid them, and after 2 years of constant use, this is what they looked like. So I'm very pleased, and I know that this is a very good solution. If you have any questions about this method, or if you've had any luck fixing boots in this type of a scenario, please leave the comments below. I'd love to read them, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers!